The Golden State Warriors moving on to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Big fourth quarter, outscoring the Denver Nuggets 32-20 in that fourth quarter to rally past the Nuggets 102-98. Huge night late for Steph Curry. He finished with 30 to lead the way despite 30 points, 19 rebounds, 8 assists, and a pair of blocks from Nikola Jokic. The Nuggets' season is over. Let's bring in Bill Reiter to discuss. Again, I mentioned 32-20 in the fourth quarter for the Warriors. They were down throughout the second half, but once they smelled blood, they went for the kill and got it done. Your impressions of how they finished this game, Bill?
Yeah, Jim, that's deja vu all over again for me. I've probably been to, 50 or 60 or 100 Golden State Warriors games, and most of their postseason games over the course of their many runs to the finals and to those championships. And you said it, it's the same story over and over again. They play dogged defense. When another team puts up a fight, these games can be close, and then a fourth quarter arrives where there's a lot on the line, and sometimes, often it's Steph Curry. It was in this game. Other nights it can be Klay Thompson. Hell, Gary Payton the second was a big contributor. It's a deep Warriors team. They know how to win. They're excellent defensively and offensively. And as great as Jokic was, and he was, the Warriors have their own former MVP as well, and he played like it in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was a great back and forth you saw from both of them stepping up their games in that fourth quarter. But to keep it with the Warriors for a moment, because you just touched on this, really, it's a night that Jordan Poole, who was terrific for them throughout the season and down the stretch, he had an off night. And you just mentioned Gary Payton Jr. had that huge bucket, then a three-pointer late to make it a 5-point game. He gave him 15 points. What does that say about this Warriors team, that on any given night, it could be one of the other guys that steps up for them?
I mean, that's exactly what it is. And I think you got to give credit really to Steph Curry and the approach that the Warriors take. And there's a juxtaposition with some of the other superstar-laden teams. They move the basketball. Can Steph Curry get a shot off and get his? Of course he can. But this is a team that moves the ball, that trusts other players. And so if you're Gary Payton, the young glove, right, the mitten, if you're Jordan Poole and you were a late first-round draft pick, early second-round draft pick, if you're any of these guys, you're going to have the best opportunity to be successful of any not sure star in the NBA, because you're going to have great looks. The defense is going to have to focus on other guys like Steph, like Klay Thompson. And so that depth does emerge, and the Warriors are able to both find the right guys and to bring about the right guys. And you said it, Gary Payton is supposed to be a defensive specialist for this team, and he gave him an offensive boost. He hit that big three. As the ball moved, it would find him, and he hit those shots. It was classic Warriors basketball.
Yeah, the glove, by the way, was on hand to watch the mitten get it done in that closeout game. But when you talk about the Denver Nuggets, unlike the Chicago Bulls, they gave the Warriors a game in this closeout tip. Nikola Jokic was terrific. I mentioned the numbers. 30 points, a dozen came in the fourth quarter, 19 rebounds, 8 assists. This is a team that was playing without their second and third best players. So all that being said, how would you characterize this season for the Nuggets?
Yeah, you said it. No Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr. Really should have equaled no chance. And the fact that Jokic got this team to the postseason, won a game against the Warriors, and then almost, more or less, close to single-handedly, almost beat the Warriors in Golden State in a closeout game. It just speaks to how incredible this guy is. But it doesn't change the fact, Jim, that it's a lost season for Denver through really no fault of their own or Jokic's own or the head coach or the front office. Those guys get hurt. Luck is part of the deal. You have to stay healthy. And I was watching the game with my kids, and they know who Steph Curry is. They're like, Daddy, who's the unstoppable guy? That's how they refer to him. Who's the unstoppable guy? And my answer was, that's an MVP who really wishes he had Gary Payton II or Jordan Poole on his team. This Denver team's got a bright future. I think they can be actual and legitimate contenders if those other guys get healthy, Jim. But when you're on your own, when you're missing your two best players, it doesn't matter how great you are.
Sure.
Jokic is incredible. You're not going to have enough firepower against anybody, especially that Warriors team.
Hey, Bill, along those lines, I mean, if you look at the box scores, you look at the numbers, Jokic just put up massive numbers in this series. But what do you say to those individuals that tell you, all right, if this guy's the MVP, how come he can't carry this team to a series victory? What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, what I would tell them is that I voted for Jokic, and I feel pretty good about it. If you take Klay Thompson and Draymond Green off of this team in this series, and again, they're playing another team that doesn't have their 2 stars. Denver might win that series. If you take Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday off of that Bucks team, the road is going to be really, really difficult. So the reality is that if you don't have the co-stars that you need, and if you have a Denver squad, with all respect to DeMarcus Cousins, who had a career postseason high in points in this game, whose best player outside of those 2 guys might be in DeMarcus Cousins, a person whose better days are behind him. If you don't have that level of greatness around you, you can't be competitive. And the fact that Jokic got his team to the postseason and was competitive when LeBron James couldn't do that with a sometimes Anthony Davis in the lineup and an often Russell Westbrook, it goes to show you that this is a guy that was carrying a massive weight that is value. I feel good about my vote. And I think it's easy to get caught up in that narrative, but I'm not sure that there was a superstar in the NBA who did more with less this year than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, well said, and it shows it's a team game here. I'm going to make a statement and see if you agree. The Golden State Warriors will rep the Western Conference in the finals. Are you bullish or bearish on that?
100% agree. Agreed at the start of the postseason under the assumption that Steph Curry was going to be healthy. We've seen, not in this game, but we've seen Klay Thompson have some good games in the series. I mean, I thought Draymond Green did an incredible job defensively on a guy that's basically unstoppable. Steph Curry looked like Steph Curry, especially in that fourth quarter. Jordan Poole didn't have a great game, but this is a guy who can be a scoring star. We know that. Even Gary Payton, as we discussed, was a huge contributor. They're very well coached. They're the best defense in the NBA. 100% with you. I already have, Jim, the sushi restaurants and the cocktail bars picked out in San Francisco. I will be at June 1st to 6th when I'm covering the finals for CBS Sports.
Yes, that's Bill Reiter, who has plenty of insight, and there's plenty more ahead of him as the playoffs roll on. Bill, we appreciate that insight as the Warriors wrap up the Nuggets in 5, and this is how they closed it out with a huge fourth quarter, outdoing them by a dozen in that final quarter. You see they got it done from deep with a trio of 3 balls and just 2 turnovers. They trail by 8 entering. They win it by 4.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.